Hello students and viewers, how are you all? I hope all of you are fine and safe. This is your Arindam sir and you are watching Revision Learning. So students, I am back here today with another new topic, another new chapter, another new lesson. Today we will be discussing about social studies from class 7. And today we will see the chapter number 1, that is when, where and how. In this chapter, basically we will learn about the medieval Indian history and about its stories, about its nomenclature, about its dynasty, its rule, its political condition, economic condition and lots more. So without wasting any time, let's start our today's topic. Chapter number 1 from class 7 SST, when, where and how. The chapter name itself is a question. When, where, how. It means when the medieval history started, where it started or what happened during this time and how everything went during the medieval Indian history. So, before going to the medieval Indian history, first of all we have to know about the periodization of Indian history. Now, the Indian history has been divided into 3 periods. Ancient history, medieval history and modern history. Now the ancient history, also known as the Stone Age, is up to the 7th century. Till 7th century it was the ancient history that we have read in class 6. Now in this class basically we will go through about the medieval Indian history. The medieval Indian history started from 8th century and it went till 18th century. Now here, the 8th century to the 13th century is known as the early medieval period, and the 13th century from 13th century to 18th century it's known as the late medieval period. Okay, you can say these are the transition periods of the Indian history too. Now in the modern history it started from 18th century and we can say it's still now. So we will discuss modern history in class 8 later on. So basically let's focus now on the medieval Indian history. So the medieval Indian history, it went from 8 to 18 as I said you. So we can say that it went near about 10 to 11 centuries. Okay. During this time the Chalukyas, the Pallavas, Pandyas, Rashtrakutas, Rajputs, the Muslim rulers and finally the Mughals came. So in this entire medieval history we will know about them only. Okay. So let's now go to the medieval Indian history and during this time what exactly were there in India. Okay, so in the north of the Indian side or in the northern side of India, the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal were the rulers. In which period, in which year we will discuss it later on. Just a gist that I am, or you can say just the summary or just the beginning of the chapter that I am discussing with you, that during this medieval Indian history, in the northern side of India there was a rule of the Delhi Sultanate and then Mughal. In the south there was the rule of Cholas in the Vijayanagar, and during this period especially the Rajputs and the castes evolved. So we have seen during this period of the Indian history that the Rajput community and the castes got developed, they got evolved. Later on we will see that in the chapter that in the Hindu society there formed the Bhakti movement, and in the Muslim society Sufi movement. What is this Bhakti movement and what is this Sufi movement we will discuss later on in this chapter. And then we will see that in this medieval Indian history the Buddhism and the Jainism totally declined. There was a fall in the Buddhism and in the Jainism that was not there in the ancient history. Okay, so from this we will move to the nomenclature, that is what are the different names that was given to the India during that medieval period. So during medieval period India was known as Jambudvipa. Remember the spelling, like while reading you have to go through the spelling too, because some of the spellings will be very new for you all and some of you will think that it's very tough, so you have to go through the spellings nicely. So during the medieval period of India, India was known as the Jambudvipa. It means the land of rose apple trees. Now in Ashoka's inscription means what? It's the written form, or it's something which is written in the stones or in some monuments or in some structures and all. So in Ashoka's inscription, it was named as Bharatvarsha. So Ashoka, in his inscription, he wrote India's name as Bharatvarsha. Why? Because Bharata, the main tribe which took part in the battle of the 10 kings. Bharata was the main tribe, was one of a main tribe during that time, and that tribe took part in the battle of 10 kings, where 10 kings got united and they fought with one another. So from that battle, or from that tribe, you can say, Ashoka in his inscription he named India as Bharatvarsha. Then you can see that in the Avestan language means ancient Iranian language, it was named as Hepta Hindu. Okay. Now based on Gangetic plans as Aryavarta. Based on Gangetic plans means Ganga had always some different plans, and based on the Ganga river, India was named as Aryavarta. Now in the Persian inscription, now here one question you might arise, that the Avestan language and Persian inscription is almost same. Yeah, it's almost same, but Avestan language is the ancient form of the Iranian, or you can say the Persian language. But it was not written in the inscription form, but when the Persian made their own inscription, in the inscription, or you can say it's written in the medieval history of the Persian language, you can say that the Persian inscription, the India's name was given as Hindustan. The spelling is totally different, H-N-D-S-T-N, Hindustan. Okay. So I hope you have understood the difference between the ancient or the Avestan language and the Persian inscription. Now, under the rulers of Arab, Turkish, Afghans and Mughals, India was named as Hindustan. Now before that, when we started our description or discussion, I said about the Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate exactly means the Muslim rulers who were from the Turkish or Afghans, who were basically Turkish and Afghans, from the Turkey country and from the Afghanistan country. Some of the Persian rulers are also there during that time, and some Arabs were also there, but basically the Delhi Sultanate rulers were from the Turkish or from the Afghans. Okay. So under those rulers or under the Mughals, India was named as Hindustan. Another Iranian scholar, his name was Al-Baruni. This Iranian scholar in 1017, he gave India a name Tariq al-Hind. It means history of India. So I hope that you have understood about the different nomenclature, different names during the medieval period of India. Now we'll see about the political condition. Now, talking about the political condition, in the beginning stage of the medieval Indian history, the political condition was not that much static, or you can say it was unstable. Why unstable? Because during that time, उस time पे जब political condition, उस time पे जो राजा हुआ करते थे, every time they used to change. Like they got changed each and every time. हमेशा आज एक राजा तो कल एक दूसरा राजा, और कोई भी राजा का जो रेन होता था, जो टाइम ऑफ रूलिंग, इट वाज नॉट लॉन्ग. So for that reason, the political situation was not at all static. We will see here that in the northern side or in the central India, the last emperor ruler was Harshavardhana. Remember the names only, okay? That in the northern side and in the central India, the last emperor ruler was Harshavardhana. In south, it was Pulakesin II of the Chalukyas. Of the Chalukya dynasty, it was the Pulakesin II. But after them, there emerged 3 points of power. So as I said you earlier, that उस time पे हर्षवर्धन और पुलाकेशिन के राज्य के बाद, उनके रूल के बाद 3 different powers evolve हुए थे. कौन से वो पावर थे? एक थे द राष्ट्रकूटस फ्रॉम द डेक्कन प्लेस से राष्ट्रकूटस, मलवा से गुर्जारा प्रतिहारस, एंड फ्रॉम बंगाल द पालस. सो इन 3 जगहों से ये तीनों लोग evolved हुए थे, and they became the power or the point of power. They got the power, and out of these 3, Gurjara Pratiharas from the Malwa, the chief of the Gurjara Pratiharas was Nagabhatta, and the chief Nagabhatta laid the foundation of their dynasty. So if the question arises like this, that who was the chief of the Gurjara Pratiharas, you have to say that the chief of the Gurjara Pratiharas was Nagabhatta, and he laid the foundation of their dynasty where? In Kannauj and at Ujjain during the 8th century that continued till 11th century. So I hope that you have understood the political condition, but it was, as I said, till that much it was unstable. Now, the country witnessed some political stability with the rise of Delhi Sultanate in 1206 that continued till 1526. So 1206 में कंट्री को मतलब इंडिया को थोड़ा पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी मिला. कैसे? जैसे ही वहां पे दिल्ली सुल्तानियत आ गए एंड दे स्टार्टेड देयर रूलिंग, दे स्टार्टेड देयर रेन, द कंट्री विटनेस सम पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी. ओके, बट the country though witnessed some political stability, but their social organization or their society was totally, you can say, destroyed by the Delhi Sultanate. They made some rules, or you can say some atrocious rules that were totally against the society, but being the ruler, they used their power, और society को तो उनको मानना ही था as it was the rule of Delhi Sultanate, so society have to abide them. So during that time, the social organization or the attitude of the Delhi Sultanate was how? We'll see now. The first, during Delhi Sultanate, उन्होंने क्या किया था? The Hindus had to learn Persian. Hindus जो basically संस्कृत language और संस्कृत text के ऊपर पढ़ाई करते थे, there they said that Hindus had to learn Persian. Hindus को भी पर्शियन लैंग्वेज, मतलब पुराना जो ईरान, अभी का जो ईरान है, ईरानी लैंग्वेज सीखना पड़ेगा हिंदुओं को. Women were mostly confined to the four walls. Women को 4 दीवारी पे ही रहना पड़ेगा, उनके बाहर आने का उनको इजाजत नहीं था. The women had to stay in the homes. They didn't have any freedom during that time. Then they imposed the child marriage. Child marriage को उन्होंने impose कर दिया था. And after this, another thing they imposed, polygamy in the society. Now this means that a person may have more than one wife or one husband. अगर कोई लड़का होता है तो more than one wife. अगर कोई बड़ी रानी या कोई ऐसी औरत होती है जिनके पास कुछ पावर हो तो उनके पास more than one husband हो सकता है. ये था polygamy. This is totally against the society rules and social people. So polygamy was introduced in the society, and lastly they introduced the bonded labor. Labor जो था वो एक बॉन्ड के अंदर था. बॉन्ड इन द सेंस दे हैड टू वर्क फॉर 2, 3, 4 years अंडर द सेम एरिया, अंडर द सेम किंग, बिकॉज वो उनके गुलाम थे. एंड एज दे वर दिस गुलाम्स, एज दे हैड साइंड देयर बॉन्ड, सो बीइंग ए बॉन्डेड लेबर दे हैड टू वर्क अंडर दोज पर्टिकुलर किंग in a particular area for the time or for the time schedule that the particular king will set for them. उनको torture किया जाता था. There was lots of torture on them, and most importantly, they were treated as animals. They are not treated as humans or farmers or peasants or laborers. They were treated as animals. उनका wages जो था, the wages were very low and it was not regular. वो कभी कभी 3 महीने के बाद, कभी कभी 6 महीने के बाद उनको अपना wages मिलता था एक साथ, लेकिन 6 महीने के बाद, 3 महीने के बाद फिर उन लोग को अपना कोई फ्रीडम नहीं था. दे हैड टू वर्क इन अ पर्टिकुलर एरिया. यहाँ से अगर वो निकलते थे देन मार पड़ती थी या कुछ भी पनिशमेंट मिलता था उनको. लाइक दिस वर देयर वर, यू कैन से दैट दे वर अंडर डीप प्रेशर, और उनके ऊपर बहुत जुल्म होता था उस टाइम पे. एज दे वर द गुलाम्स, दे वर द बॉन्डेड लेबर्स ऑफ द हायर क्लास पीपल और द किंग्स, okay, the royal family. So these are some of the things that during the Delhi Sultanate they imposed on the general people. So I hope that up to this much you have understood whatever I have explained. So today in this video, up to this only. In our next video we will be discussing more things about this chapter. Today we have seen about the political condition. Next day we will see about the economic condition. In our next video we will see about the economic conditions and different sources of the medieval Indian history. So hello students and viewers, how are you all? I hope all of you are fine and safe. This is your Arindam sir and you are watching Revision Learning. So students, in our last video, we have discussed about the periodization of Indian history, where precisely we have discussed about medieval Indian history. Then, who were the rulers in which places during the medieval Indian history, what are the nomenclatures, the different names of India, the political condition, and about the social organization and attitude of the Delhi Sultanate. So all these topics we have discussed. If you have missed our last video, the video is there in the description box. Go to the video and check it out. Okay. So today we will start our discussion with the economic conditions, and after this we will see the different sources of medieval period. Okay. So like the political conditions that we have discussed in our last video, that it was unstable in the initial stages, but when the Delhi Sultanate started their ruling, the political stability was there. Okay. Similarly, in the initial days, the economic conditions was not up to the mark. So initially, mineral wealth and agriculture was the primary sources of economy in the medieval Indian period. This led differences in the upper class and common class people. Basically, you can easily understand that the person who are dealing with the minerals and who are dealing with the agriculture, who can be the most wealthier and who will be deprived of money, or who will be in the backward class. Those who are dealing with minerals and all, they will be very rich, you can easily say that. And those who are the peasants or farmers, and basically they are dependent on their agricultural works, they will be poor. Nowadays, those who are working in the oil refineries or coal mines and all, they are very rich. But as compared to this, the people who are working as a farmer, as a peasant in the agriculture, they are very poor, you can say. So this initial stage or initial economic condition led differences in the upper class and in the common people. Upper class means the people who are dealing with the mineral wealths and all, and the lower class or the common people means those who are dependent on the agricultural works. Okay. So this was the initial stage of the economic condition, but later on the trade and commerce was developed, which led to the better economic condition in the medieval period. So after this, later on, the trade and commerce was developed, and this led to a better economic condition. And after this, the commodities were traded through the barter system. Barter system means you will give me something, and in return of this, I will give you something. Import and export, you can say. मतलब आप कुछ दोगे और इसके बदले में मैं भी आपको कुछ बेचूंगा या कुछ दूंगा, like this. So this was the barter system, and based on the barter system, the commodities, different commodities were there, and they were traded from one place to another place. And because of this trade and commerce, the economic condition took a drastic growth. Basically, during that time, the golds and silvers were also traded. So during that time, there was a rise of two reformists. Now, reformist means sudharak. Those who are in support or जो एक society को सुधारना चाहता है, those who want to work for the society, for the beneficiary work for the society. So during that time there was a rise of the two reformist movements, Sufism and Bhakti. उस टाइम पे कुछ सुधारक थे, some people were there in the society, those who want to develop the society, and those reformists, they started two movements. One is the Sufism or Sufi movement, one is the Bhakti movement. The Sufi movement was basically started by the Muslim society people, and the Bhakti movement was basically started by the Hindu society people. Okay. So what they did, the reformers, or reformists, you can say, what they did, they stressed upon realization of God. They said that people should realize God. Everybody should realize God and should unite with God with true devotion, with true love towards God. So इस तरह से उन्होंने कहा पूरे सोसाइटी को कि every people in the society should realize God with their true feelings of love and devotion towards God. So because of this thing, the reformist movement started, the Sufi movement and the Bhakti movement. So I hope that you are clear about these movements. Now after this, we'll go to the different sources of medieval period. So the medieval period is categorized, or you can say is divided into two sources, literary source and archaeological source. So by the name you can easily say that literary source means where everything will be in the written form, Archaeological source means the study of old monuments, pictures and all, everything. So let's just read about our literary source. Literary sources are the handwritten records that we call as manuscripts. So literary sources means हाथ से लिखा हुआ कोई भी record जिसको हम manuscripts बोलते हैं. And under this manuscripts there were chronicles. Chronicles means history का कुछ भी लिखा हुआ history का और any historical records. So chronicles were there, commentaries were there. Commentaries means anyone's expression, views, expression of opinions, different views. These things were written. Then royal orders or farmans. Farman means or the order that is given from the पैलेस ऑफ द किंग्स. जो राजा लोग और जो वहाँ पे जो गद्दी पे जो बैठे हैं, जो कोई भी फरमान, कोई भी इन्वाइटेशन या कोई भी रूल और कोई भी मतलब कोई भी ऑर्डर या कुछ भी जो वो लोग देते थे एक लिफाफे में या कुछ एक पेपर में या कुछ किसी चीज़ में होता था. सो जो ऑर्डर होता था और जो फरमान होता था, रॉयल ऑर्डर्स एंड रॉयल फरमान्स, वो भी दैट वाज देयर इन द रिटन फॉर्म एंड इट्स ऑल्सो कम्स अंडर द मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट्स, दैट इज अंडर द लिटरेरी सोर्स. देन religious records, drama, autobiography. Religious records, the records of different religions, what are the rules or how, what are the festivals they will celebrate and all, everything. All the religious records are maintained in the literary source. Then the drama, different types of drama, act, play about the society, about the culture of the different peoples. And autobiography, आत्मजीवनी, खुद की कहानियों को बयान करना. तो those people who used to write autobiographies, their records are also kept in the literary source. Okay, so these are the things which are kept under the manuscripts, that is the literary source. The literary source or literary text are also divided as the indigenous and foreign records. Indigenous means अपने ही देश का कोई भी record. For example, there is Aurangzeb is the king. Now Aurangzeb wants to write something based on his kingdom or based on his own people, own culture. वो खुद के बारे में या कुछ भी मतलब वो खुद लिखना चाहते हैं, तो then that time Aurangzeb can write something and that will come under the indigenous accounts or indigenous records. Why? Because Aurangzeb is the present ruler of the country, of that particular place, maybe in the north, maybe in the south, maybe in the east, maybe in the west. But maybe in the west or maybe in the south, Aurangzeb is ruling. So in that area, in that particular area, Aurangzeb is the king. He is the ruler and he is the ruler of that area. He is the Indian ruler. वो भारत के ही उस राज्य के और उस एरिया के वो राजा थे. तो व्हाट एवर द थिंग्स ही विल राइट, वो तो अपने ही देश का कोई एक राजा लिख रहा है. अपने बारे में हो, अपने पीपल के बारे में हो या अपने किंगडम के बारे में हो, किसी के बारे में भी हो, लेकिन ही वॉज राइटिंग एज एन इंडियन रूलर. सो दिस थिंग्स, दिस टाइप ऑफ अकाउंट्स विल कम अंडर द indigenous records. The people who write something, who maintain any records, being an Indian and writing in India. And foreign account means जो बाहर से कोई भी scholar या कोई भी traveler या कोई भी आते हो, and those people when they come to India and they see about the different cultures, different things and all, different kingdoms and all, and they write something, they gives any name. For example, as we have discussed in our last video, as I said that one Iranian scholar Al-Biruni, he came to India and he gave India a name, History of India, Tariq al-Hind. So that means this thing will come under the literary source as an foreign account, because he was a foreigner. He was an Iranian scholar, a Persian scholar. He came to India, he wrote something about India, he gave India a name. So these things will come that when the people from the outsiders or foreign countries comes to India and write something about its culture and all, it's comes under the foreign accounts. So I hope it's clear to you all. Now we'll see about the drama, folklore and all. The drama and folklore during that time were written in the form of Katha Sarita Sagara. It means that ocean of the stream of stories. So all the stories, all the cultures, lok geet, lok नृत्य या कोई भी ड्रामा हो, कोई भी एक्ट हो जिससे सोसाइटी का कोई भी चीज हम ला सकते हैं सबके सामने, those things, or any type of folk art, folk dance, you can say, any type of drama and all, everything it was written in the कथा सरिता सागर. कथा सरिता सागर एक किताब की तरह है, एंड इट्स इन इंग्लिश, इट्स इंग्लिश नेम इज ओशन ऑफ द स्ट्रीम ऑफ स्टोरीज, जहाँ पे हर एक टाइप की कहानियों को लिखा गया है. ओके, एज आई सेड अर्लियर अबाउट द रॉयल ऑर्डर्स एंड द फरमान्स, these things were issued in the court, like under the Mughal administration or under the दिल्ली सुल्तानियत. जब कोई कोर्ट से या राजाओं से जब कोई ऑर्डर आता है, कोई फरमान आता है, तो वो लोग ये सारे चीजें वहां से आती थी. ऑटोबायोग्राफीज वर रिटन ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम इन द पर्शियन, अराबिक एंड तुर्किश लैंग्वेज. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, टुजुक इज जहांगीरी व्हिच इज रिटन बाय जहांगीर एटसेट्रा. तो उस जमाने में जो ऑटोबायोग्राफी जो लिखा हुआ जाता था, बेसिकली इट वाज रिटन इन द पर्शियन लैंग्वेज, अराबिक लैंग्वेज एंड तुर्किश लैंग्वेज. And one example I have given like this. Other examples are also there in your book. You can just read those names. Okay. So here some of the travelogues I have mentioned. Number one is the Ibn Battuta's The Rila. Now Ibn Battuta was a Moroccan scholar. He wrote a book naming The Rila, where he mentioned about the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the Sultan of Delhi from 1325 to 1351, and he was from the Tughlaq dynasty. Okay. Second one is Abur Razak. So Abur Razak, he wrote about the conditions of the kingdom of Vijayanagar. Okay, he might have visited the Vijayanagar and there he have seen everything. So what were the conditions or what were the things he experienced? He wrote those things. Third, Marco Polo and Niccolo Conti. Now these two people are from the Italy. They are the Italian scholar. They have written Vijayanagar, about Vijayanagar and its wars with Bahamani kingdom. So Marco Polo and Niccolo Conti, ये दोनों इटाली के स्कॉलर थे. And specially Niccolo Conti, उन लोगों ने क्या लिखा? They have written about Vijayanagar and its wars. They have, the people or the kingdom of Vijayanagar, they have written exactly what was there, the rules, the people, the culture, everything about Vijayanagar and its wars. The Vijayanagar or the kingdom of Vijayanagar fought a war with the Bahamani kingdom. About those wars, the details and all, everything they have written. So these things comes under the travelogues. So with this, the literary source is over. Now we can go to the archaeological source. Archaeological source is the very easiest source. You can easily understand this, that as I said you earlier, that archaeology is the study of old monuments, any places, palaces, temples, coins, weapons, etc. Any dead remains of any animals and all, everything comes under the archaeology. And the people who study archaeology, they are called the archaeologists. Okay. Now these things are generally obtained by digging the surface of the earth. So whatever the things or whatever the source, archaeological source, these sources are basically obtained by digging the earth's surface. Now what archaeological source or what the study of archaeology helps us? It helps us to understand any primitive architectural styles or structures, engineering skills, any primitive culture or any structures. So these are the things that the archaeological source or archaeology helps us to understand. For example, you can say some of the recent Agra fort in Delhi, then Red Fort in. For example, you can say the Agra fort in Agra, Red Fort in Delhi, Qutub Minar, any Taj Mahal and all, everything. All these things comes under the archaeological source, the study of old monuments. Now, in this archaeological source, the study of temple is also there. In temple archaeology, the Sun Temple at Konark or the Brihadeshwar Temple at Tanjore, these things, some of the examples that I have given. So ऐसे बहुत सारे temples की study को ही the study of temple archaeology कहा जाता है. And basically this temple or the study of temple archaeology is basically based on the south. अगर हम लोग साउथ के रीजन में जाते हैं, वहाँ पे हम लोग को बहुत सारे टेम्पल मिल जाएगा. Those their designs or you can say their architectural styles or structures are very beautiful, and the study of those things, मतलब कैसे उस टेम्पल में उन लोगों ने खुदाई करके the skills they had in the primitive age or in the medieval period, or not only in the medieval period, in the before ancient period also, the skills those people had, the engineering skills you can say, was so much adorable, so much mesmerizing, that whatever the things they made, it was awful. It was very nice. So the study of the temple also comes under the archaeological source. Also the study of coins gives us information about the primitive and political and economic history of any particular place. किसी भी एरिया और किसी भी जगह का जो पॉलिटिकल कंडीशन, पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री, इकोनॉमिक हिस्ट्री क्या होता है, वो हमको कॉइन्स के स्टडी से हम लोग को मिल जाएगा. एंड द स्टडी ऑफ कॉइन्स इज कॉल्ड द नुमिस्मेटिक्स. ओके, द स्टडी ऑफ कॉइन्स वी कॉल इट एज द नुमिस्मेटिक्स. फिर आता है inscriptions. I told you earlier also that inscriptions are the writings on stone surfaces or any plates, any walls, any copper plates and all, everything, and they give information of the various aspects of life, about the administration, about the political information, economic information, then about the information of what the things wanted to show us, what the people during that time wanted to describe while making a temple and all. Everything comes under the inscriptions. Okay, and lastly we can say that in the archaeological source there are the paintings, the one of the most important source of information through which we can get about or we can know about some social life or the primitive people, their religious life, their political life, everything we can show, we can understand, we can learn. So paintings are very important. इस पेंटिंग के थ्रू पे जो पेंटर है वो पूरा सोसाइटी को ला सकता है. पूरा सोसाइटी का जो रूल्स था या उस टाइम पे वो सोसाइटी कैसा था, पूरा डिस्क्रिप्शन वो दे सकता है एक पेंटर. सो पेंटिंग्स आर द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स. ओके, एंड द मिनिएचर पेंटिंग, स्पेशली मिनिएचर पेंटिंग्स मतलब स्मॉल टाइप्स ऑफ पेंटिंग्स, दिस थिंग्स आर डेवलप्ड अंडर द मुगल रूल, which tells us a lot about the code, the methods of warfare, the dress, the jewelry, etc. during their rules. So paintings भी बहुत ही एक important source of information है, and all these things comes under the archaeological source. So we have read about the different sources of medieval period, the literary source and the archaeological source. So with this I have to wind up this chapter because your chapter is now over. So if you have missed out anything, or if you still have any doubts or any type of queries about my first video or about this video, second video, you can comment me, you can comment down in the comment section, you can ask me any type of questions, I will clear your doubts. Okay, and as I am winding up the video, so suppose you have missed the first video, I said you that that video's link will be there in the description. If you don't want to see two videos separately and want to see everything together, then tomorrow you will get another video where you will get both the videos together. The full description and the entire description of the chapter will be there. You can check that video also. Okay, so with this I am winding up this session. So if you have liked my explanation, please like this video, share it to your friends, and don't forget to subscribe Revision Learning and press the bell icon so that you never miss such type of videos. Okay, so students, in our next video we'll meet with a new topic, with a new chapter. Till then, stay safe, take care, and thank you.